Welcome to Community Corner. I'm your host, Melody Callahan. Joining me in the studio today, I have Napoleon Maddox, and I'm very excited to talk with you. We've been hanging out all morning. We visited South Columbus, but there's a really cool story behind what brings you to Whiteville. So if you would tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you to Columbus County.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I've enjoyed the day thus far. I am in Whiteville. This is my second time in this beautiful town in Columbus County. The first time I came, it was a research trip in the middle of, but we had already did the work of developing and staged a performance about Millie-Christine McKoy. They happened to be the aunts of my grandmother. Isabel McKoy was her maiden name when she was married to, then became Isabel Owens. And I had always heard about Millie-Christine from childhood. And my mother passed that story down to myself and my sisters, and my grandmother passed that story to my mother. So I was a performer and a writer and everything, and I was offered an opportunity by the Contemporary Arts Center in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I grew up, to create a show of whatever I wanted to do. And they gave me a budget and entrusted me to flex all of my creative muscles. And I said, let me dig deeper into this story that I've always known about Millie-Christine. And with that opportunity, I decided to consider more in a more personal way their entire story about the community around them, about the members of their family, about what it meant psychologically to be conjoined persons, to be African American in a time that was much more challenging in different overt ways than our life is now. And then also being women, you know. So it was quite a journey. It was quite emotional. It was a rich dig. You know, digging deep, you can really find some treasure. And for me, it was also healing, and it connected me with community that I didn't even know I had in Cincinnati. And it continues to work that way, even here in Whiteville. So on the first trip, after we'd already staged the show, we did it 4 times in Cincinnati. Then we played the show in the following weeks. We played it in Paris, and then in another French town, Besançon, where I currently live. At the time, I wasn't living there yet. And then we also played it in Lyon, France. So then, coming back to Cincinnati, I said, you know, there's the opportunity. I have enough free time where I can actually go down to Whiteville and get some more personal footage, get some other things to really enrich the way that I understand this story. And because of that trip, at the time, I didn't know anyone here. I just knew Whiteville was the place that I read about in books about Millie-Christine. And so I said, we're having a research trip. And so my partner and I, Kimberly, we got in the car and we came down here and we followed a church bus to a Baptist church. And there we met some people that eventually introduced us to Brenda McKoy. Brenda McKoy, Troy McKoy. I'm not sure which order I should say her name, but it's important to recognize that she is family, and increasingly so. And I feel a kinship. I feel close to her. She's an important person to me. I am proud and grateful for the way that she has worked to keep the story alive, and also to have them celebrated in certain ways, and then also to the way that she has encouraged me. And this trip, the second trip that I've made to Whiteville, is a continuation of that. Meeting yourself, meeting different people that I've only had contact with on phone or Zoom or email. So that's why I'm in Whiteville now. And the story, the legacy of connectedness of Millie-Christine continues to work.
And the performance.
The performance.
Is told from a really interesting perspective.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So at the time that I was creating the show, I was also studying at the University of Cincinnati. I was studying early childhood education, which through the study of early childhood education, I encountered different theories of early development, the way the mind develops, the way that there are systems of that they call them different ecosphere. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but macro, micro, that kind of, we could look at it as a petri dish of culture around the person. And some of these theories took me to the idea of saying, what if we talk about the family members of Millie-Christine, to talk about their story from the eyes of their family members? So I started off by looking at what would it be like to be the father of Millie-Christine, not realizing who was being born, and he himself being enslaved at the time, and realizing another child is being born in his care while he doesn't have all of his freedom to decide when he does what, how he does what. And so it must be a kind of blues that you must feel when you know that you're still figuring out how to live day to day, and then you have another child coming into the world, and then you see that it's not one child but two, and they're connected.
Right.
So that brings in the complicated feelings of how do you deal with voyeurism when people are coming from counties all around, from South Carolina and the Virginias and wherever, to look at your children, and to you, they're precious, unique children. And to the people that come, they're objects of amusement. So throughout the performance, we use this unique approach of trying to have, what else can we see? What else is there to think about besides the fact that these are people that would grow up to be celebrities, that spoke multiple languages, that read and wrote poetry at a time where it was forbidden for African Americans to read and write. So these are all things that we look at in the performance that we call Millie-Christine Twice the First Time. We call it Twice the First Time for that double take.
Now, do you perform in the show?
I do perform in the show. I'm the principal performer, but I have a strong team of people around me that are primarily musicians, but then they're also storytellers in different ways. Some of them play sounds that we've recorded to tell the story or to support the telling of the story. Sometimes the voices are recorded in other language, in French or Italian, depending on where we're doing the show. There's also VJ artists or video artists that play projections that we've recorded that give the show a temporal effect, so that we feel like we're in between times of contemporary times and in the past. And the other exciting thing that maybe one day we'll get to do right here in Whiteville is that we do workshops with persons that will then be involved in the show, presenting different characters or reading text that they've written in collaboration with myself and the other performers, so that the community impact of the show is really powerful, because people come to the show with a deeper emotional understanding of the story they're telling. And while they're telling the story of Millie-Christine, in many ways, they're also telling their own personal stories.
Now, tomorrow we will celebrate the life and legacy of Millie-Christine on our campus. It's going to be a fun-filled day. We've got dancers from South Columbus High School that are coming, but you will also give a performance during the show tomorrow, correct?
That's right.
What can folks expect to see?
Well, I'm going to let some of it be a surprise, but you can expect some poetic verse. You can expect some emotion, and we'll bridge the gap between the actual live performing of the full show, Millie-Christine Twice the First Time, and a kind of public meeting, so people can meet a descendant of Millie-Christine that's sharing this story in my unique way, but also have something still to discover, so that if one day they get to see Millie-Christine Twice the First Time as a performance, then then that performance, that experience will be waiting for them.
So when folks attend a performance of yours about Millie-Christine, what would you like for their takeaway to be? What do you want them to learn from the experience?
You know, there's so much to unpack, and people have so many different experiences that I really just do my utmost. I do my best to each time tell the story as if it's my first time getting to talk with someone about this, so that it's always fresh and that I always feel it from the most deep, sincere place in my being. Then what they take away from it is their experience to have. I don't want to be in the position where I'm narrating or dictating, or we're not in a classroom where I'm saying, this is what you must learn. Because it's so much that they can take away from it, that if I'm trying to focus in on something, I might miss something that I don't know that they could take away from it. That leads me to a moment I mentioned Lyon as a place that we did the show in the first year in 2017 when we were doing the tour. And after the performance, there was a woman that came up to me speaking French, and I understood that she had African heritage, and she was explaining to me that she was from a country called Cameroon, and she had been living in that part of France near Lyon for some time. But she was really emotional, and she was thanking me, and she had tears. And I'm getting a little bit moved thinking about that moment. But she explained to me that she was born as with two other siblings at the same time. She was one of a triplet.
Wow.
And the other two persons that were born when she was born were conjoined. And she was really grateful for the fact that I was telling the story, because a part of the story that we're telling with Millie-Christine is the idea that that we're not as alone as we might feel sometimes. And also, like, just to be proud and confident with who we are, with our identity, and to support each other in our unique ways of living. And it really moved her. And she said, "Maintenant je suis toute seule." Right now I'm all alone, because the other triplets that were born when she was born, they passed away. This also touched me because I understood more and more, the more time that I spent in France, I understood that there's a unique experience that people of the African diaspora have being integrated into French society, even though, much like the United States, the slogan is freedom and justice for all, equality, liberty, fraternity. At times, those people can really feel on the periphery, on the outside of society. So I felt like there's no way that I could have known her story. I wouldn't have known that she would have been in the audience. And so I really just try to give my best and let people take away from it what they can.
If anyone tuning in would like to check out a performance of yours, I assume you've got social media. Can you share that information with us?
Sure. You can find, if you like to listen to music and you use Spotify or Pandora or whatever the other medias are nowadays, you can find my music under Napoleon Maddox, or Sorg and Napoleon Maddox. That's SORG. You can also find my music with under the name Is What. So that's the band that I've had for many years, and we came together with Sorg, Is What, Sorg and myself, to do the music for Millie-Christine. So you can find it if you search or Google Napoleon Maddox, and then those other names, Sorg or Is What, with my name, you will find a lot on Spotify, on YouTube. And then on social media, you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. And TikTok.
And TikTok. I can't forget about TikTok.
Can't forget about TikTok, yes.
All right, very good. Well, I'm so happy that you are here and enjoying your time in lovely downtown Whiteville. We spent some time at South Columbus High School this morning. I'd like to mention that you met with some of the students in the performing arts program, and that was a lot of fun. You did
it was fun for me as well.
Yeah, they had a great time with that, so we appreciate you taking the time to do that, and we look forward to the performance tomorrow and celebrating the life of Millie-Christine. So thank you so much for your hospitality. Yeah, thanks, Napoleon. It's my pleasure. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you stop by again real soon so you can see how we continue to open doors to opportunities here at Southeastern Community College.